Hello and welcome to your Newsmax Daily for Wednesday, December the 11th, 2024, the 50th Wednesday of the year. Christmas is 2 weeks from today. January 1st, 2025 is 3 weeks from today, and we are 40 days away from Inauguration Day, when the 45th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, will be sworn in as the 47th President. And 2024 will be remembered as the year of the biggest political comeback in history, and only the second time in history that a sitting president withdrew from the race. At the White House today, President Biden and the First Lady are hosting the first ever White House Conference on Women's Health Research. And after Trump said he would do it, now President Biden wants to block the Nippon Steel purchase of U.S. steel. And before I dive too deep into the politics of the day, let's get right to the story that's captivating the country. The arrest of murder suspect Luigi Mangione in the shooting of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, who was laid to rest yesterday in a private funeral. More from Newsmax's Sean Kreisman and Emma Reckenberg.
And at the McDonald's, he was found with some fake IDs and the gun, the weapon that was assumed to have been used in the murder, but also several pages of documents, which is being described as what looks like a manifesto for Mangione, according to multiple outlets, including the Associated Press. Part of it reads, quote, "To the feds, I'll keep this short because I do respect what you do for our country. To save you a lengthy investigation, I state plainly that I wasn't working with anyone." It also had a line that said, "I do apologize for any strife or traumas, but it had to be done. Frankly, these parasites simply had it coming." Mike, what do you make of potentially what this tells us about the motivation?
Well, he knew he was always going to be caught. That's why he wrote that. He wants to get his message across to everybody. And that's the purpose here. You see this a lot of times in situations like this. This is a premeditated case. I know we're only charging murder too, but I think the judge said to you earlier today, this should be a murder one case. And maybe when it's all sorted out and we put all the evidence together and build that better case, that's what you might see. Though that's very iffy here in Manhattan. But I think that's what we should see here. Here's a young man who obviously is very educated, very smart. Comes from a well-to-do family, but certainly has some issues, and he wants to make his point clear to people what he feels about the medical field. I had once said I didn't always think this would be the motive, but obviously it seems to be the motive. And Steve mentioned earlier that we need to thank the public for getting out there and helping us. And we solve a lot of crimes here in New York City over the years, but we always need the help of the public, and that's how we're successful as we are, because we get help like what happened here yesterday.
Yeah, and Steve, we were talking about his family earlier. The suspect's family is speaking out about the arrest. A statement was put out, and they wrote, quote, "Our family is shocked and devastated by Luigi's arrest. We offer our prayers to the family of Brian Thompson, and we ask people to pray for all involved. We are devastated by this news," unquote. Mangiones are a prominent Maryland real estate family. Luigi was valedictorian in his high school class, a UPenn grad, Ivy Leaguer. Very well-to-do family, and now turning out to be a suspect in this murder case. Steve, if you just wanted to weigh in on that in terms of profiling, maybe.
Well, Mike brought up a very important point. Well-educated. I mean, this guy was brilliant. He's an engineer, went to these Ivy League colleges, well-to-do family. The fact of the matter is that what goes through my mind is, did this guy ever have any mental health issues? I mean, this guy just went off his rocker. And the fact of the matter is I'd like to, and hope, and I believe the police will talk to his family at length to find out if there were any issues that would lead them to believe that he would commit a violent act, and if so, was any action taken. So at the end of the day, we have a brilliant individual, well planned. He did meticulous work, but he messed up along the way, which resulted in where we are today. But I worry about one thing. I hope somebody out there doesn't decide to repeat an act. These copycats are out there. And as Mike said, this is no way to solve a problem.
Absolutely. Now you've got people who are connected to him in the past. You had a roommate who lived with him in Hawaii saying that he suffered from a lot of back pain and underwent a back surgery in recent months.
Newsmax's Emma Reckenberg with retired Navy intelligence officer Steve Rogers and retired NYPD detective Mike Saperconi. Due to the reported back issue that she just spoke about and other medical issues and comments in the manifesto about healthcare companies, it appears as of now that the motive was simply revenge. Remember, the shell casings said the words deny, defend, and depose on them, right? Turns out that's the name of a book written about why insurance companies don't pay claims. Now there's a big groundswell of sympathizers for Mangione and animosity against insurance companies, as many, many Americans can relate. Google said it removed a flood of negative comments towards the McDonald's in Pennsylvania after the employee there tipped off police that Mangione was there, leading to his arrest. People are also now selling mugs and shirts that say deny, defend, and depose. Anything for a buck, but there has to be a market of people that are buying it, right? And it's pretty sick. Brian Thompson was 50 years old, a father of 2 sons, and was executed. When Mangione is locked up, it's apparent that he'll have plenty of pen pals. There is also a groundswell of people that think he is not even the right guy. At the end of yesterday's Newsmax Daily, you may recall I thanked South Carolina Congresswoman Nancy Mace for listening to the podcast. That was after she posted a tweet saying, "Fight the good fight." Later in the day, Representative Mace was physically assaulted inside a congressional office building by a man that she described as a pro-trans man. Capitol Police confirmed the arrest of a 33-year-old from Illinois. This comes after Nancy Mace called for a ban on transgender women using women's restrooms on Capitol grounds. Mace now has a brace on her wrist, says she's going to be okay. So today, I want to wish Representative Mace well. And Republican Senate leader Mitch McConnell also has a brace on his wrist and is recovering today from a fall during a lunch with some senators yesterday. He is said to be fine and resuming work. He also has a visible cut on his face. McConnell already announced that he is stepping down as the Senate's longest-serving leader, as calls for him to step down once again surfaced yesterday. All right, I mentioned a veterans group in support of Pete Hegseth for Defense Secretary. We're going to Capitol Hill in support of Pete during the confirmation hearings. Some of them appeared on Frontline with retired Navy SEAL Carl Higbie.
Pete Hegseth is the guy, and now thousands of combat veterans, SEALs, and supporters that are putting their name on a list agreeing with me. Over 100 vets signing up to march in support of Pete in D.C., and some of them came all the way down here in New York because they're willing to put their name on it, and that's what team guys do. We got fellow Navy SEALs Bill Brown, who's the man behind this project, also the swim that we do every year. All right, Jason Redmond, also Joe Masalta, and a few other military vets. Jason Logren, Joe Masalta, Brendan Duffy, Joe Palermo, Scott Grady, Tim Awoljabai? Joby. Okay, I was close. I don't read too good. All right. So, Bill, you put this whole thing together. You've got massive support, and guys are willing to go down there and march in favor of Pete Hegseth, and you still have holdouts like Joni Ernst?
Well, you know what? We're sending a signal. It's time to do the right thing. It's time to follow Trump's leadership. Mm-hmm. We, the people, voted for a change of course of direction. Trump has set up his cabinet for that. People are going to come, have the courage, have the vision to change things that need to get changed, like the military, like the Pentagon. You look at what the chaotic, shameful withdrawal in Afghanistan, billions of dollars of military
trillions.
Yeah. If that's not proof positive example that we need new leadership, there's nothing else that is.
Yeah. But Jason, look, you and I, we did a platoon together. We were over in Iraq together at the same time. This is a guy who's been on the ground, who understands war fighting. We haven't really had that. We've had a bunch of flag officers, we've had a bunch of politicians in suits, but we haven't had a war fighter in there in I don't know how long, outside of Mattis for a few months.
Yeah, exactly. Mattis would have been the last one, but obviously, once again, and Mattis, I have tremendous respect for General Mattis, but I would also say that once you become a flag officer, you fall under the political machine. You're tied to the military-industrial complex, all these different things. The military, in my opinion, has lost its way. It is about war fighting. It is about how do we build a group of amazing individuals like this who have the ability to defend the homeland, take the fight to the enemy, and build a military that has strength, that is a deterrent to our enemies. Pete's about that. Pete understands that. He is about, we got to get away from the individual. We need to focus on building back our military as a strong organization, a guy that's had boots on the ground. There are a lot of people that want to say, well, Pete's never run an organization this big. Pete's smart enough to understand I'm going to rely on the people who can help build this, help make it better, help grow this military. But at the same time, he's not going to tolerate us moving down roads we shouldn't be going.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing, too, is, you and I were talking about this before, where you have a bunch of people that have no experience in anything and no success in anything, but yet they're crapping on Pete Hegseth for not running an organization?
Yeah, it sounds like your typical stigma of any veteran stepping into a leadership role. These same stigmas that everyone tries to tell us that we no longer should be talking about, that veterans are not in this box of drinkers and people who enjoy having a great time and are physically fit guys like us sitting here. It is correct, but nonetheless, it shouldn't prevent any of us from expanding our own horizons and taking on positions like what Pete is going to take on.
Sure. Yeah, that's the other thing, Jason, is drinking and stuff like that. That's their biggest hit on this, guys. Oh, he had a couple beers, we don't really like that. I mean, I don't know any combat vets who don't drink. I mean, you had a company for it.
I do. And I mean, for anybody out there, any of our veterans, obviously, it is a double-edged sword. There are some that it takes you down a dark path. For others, it's an amazing opportunity for us to socialize. But I will tell you this. There are all these people that want to hammer Pete when he was the head of Concerned Veterans for America. I was on that tour. Yeah. I spent weeks with Pete. I did not see any of the things that people are saying. I saw a guy that led, who represented our country, who brought us together. And that's what we need.
Navy SEAL Jason Redman and other SEALs with former SEAL Carl Higbie, the host of Frontline, 5 o'clock Eastern on Newsmax. Texas Senator John Cornyn is one of many senators that have met with Pete Hegseth, and he told Rob Schmitt last night support in the Senate is coming together.
You met with Trump's pick for Secretary of Defense. You met with Pete Hegseth. I believe you met with him today. I wanted to ask how that meeting went and how you are feeling about a confirmation vote, and to ask some other senators that, your opinion, do you think he's going to get in? Some other senators you might know that are, on the fence. Are they moving more in his direction?
Yeah, I've known Pete for probably more than a decade. When he came back from Afghanistan and Iraq, he came to Capitol Hill to advocate for veterans and was very successful leading a large organization that was advocating on their behalf. So I've known Pete a long time, even before he became famous as a TV personality. Yeah. I know he's a committed patriot. He's willing to take an incredible cut in income to serve our country and to help us turn the Pentagon around. As you know, the Pentagon is important, but it's also incredibly bureaucratic, and we need to make sure that every dollar we spend is spent in reestablishing deterrence in a very dangerous world. So I'm supporting Pete's confirmation, and I believe ultimately he will be confirmed.
So you're a yes vote on Pete Hegseth?
I am.
You are. And do you feel as though it seems like Joni Ernst was on the fence and is moving more in his direction now? Do you know of any other senators that are? Do you think any Republican senator will vote against him at this point, or does he have the full support of the party?
I know of no one who said they will vote against him. Senator Ernst, who you mentioned, has had a couple of meetings now, and the most recent one says she will certainly support this process as it goes forward. I know everybody's eager to see these nominees confirmed, but we haven't even started the new Congress yet, which is when we will actually be doing that. Yeah. But it's important for all of these nominees to come around and answer questions. I told Pete this is going to be a very unpleasant process for him and his family. Having been involved in the Kavanaugh hearings, for example, I know there'll be unnamed accusations and some things that are going to be hurtful, not only to him and his family, but he's ready for that. His wife is ready for that, and I'm confident he will be confirmed.
Confident he will be confirmed. And as far as Kennedy, Tulsi Gabbard, I mean, I hope that hopefully the Senate remembers that when it comes for time for Democrats to be confirmed, every Democrat goes along with what Biden wants. Is that going to happen here with Republicans?
Well, I think we'll take them one at a time, and each one of them present different qualifications. But I think there's a presumption that President Trump, having won the election, should have his team. Yeah. And barring any extraordinary circumstances, I think that's what the outcome will be.
Yeah, I remember Lindsey Graham saying that if you win an election, you deserve to have your people, and he said that when Biden was getting his nominations and when they do the judges and everything like that. That was his statement. I think if that's the way it works, it needs to work that way both ways.
That's Rob Schmitt, host of Rob Schmitt Tonight with Texas Senator John Cornyn. Out of respect for the office of the presidency, right? That used to be a thing. It needs to work both ways. It should work both ways, but it doesn't, and it won't. Trust me. I'm going to go out on a limb and say no Democrats will vote for Hegseth. I actually think there may be one or two that want to, but they don't want to be the only ones, right? Imagine one Democrat voting yay. He or she would be slammed by the rest of the party, especially the progressive side of the party, just the way many Republicans have slammed Lindsey Graham in the past, who Rob just referenced, for showing bipartisanship. Last week, which now seems so long ago already, the big story you may recall was President Biden pardoning his son Hunter. We talked about his two brothers who are a part of the Biden family investigation by the House Oversight and Accountability Committee. Chairman James Comer talked about it on Newsmax's Wake Up America.
Yeah, I want to ask you while I have you here, we've talked a lot over the last 2 years about Hunter Biden. You've spent countless hours investigating this family, his dealings, the laptop, and now he's been pardoned. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I'm not surprised. I mean, we said this all along, that he would be pardoned. But the interesting thing is, you know, about the pardons, they were preemptive, which would apply to anything, which is proof that everything that we said he did, from money laundering to violation of the Foreign Agents Registration Act to tax evasion, he did. That's why Joe Biden made that pardon so extensive. And I think that, you know, the ball is now going to be in the Trump Justice Cabinet's court. You can go forward. There are still avenues to hold Hunter Biden accountable. But my ultimate objective is to hold the deep state actors in the government accountable for all the cover-ups. Hunter Biden should have been in prison long before Joe Biden was ever elected president. If his name hadn't been Biden, he would have been in prison for you know, a multitude of financial crimes, not to mention his drug-related crimes, his gun-related crimes, and the sex trafficking and all the other crimes that were so apparent and obvious on the laptop. So I believe that the Kash Patel and Pam Bondi are serious about reforming what we all refer to as the deep state, these intelligence and justice cabinet federal bureaucrats that have a two-tier system of justice that have weaponized their agencies against conservatives. And I believe that we can use our investigation of Hunter Biden as the blueprint for how to hold these bureaucrats accountable.
Yeah. Congressman, do you think that President Biden's going to pardon himself or any other family members? The White House has said that.
I do think he'll pardon other family members. He's going to have to. Look, all we can do on the Oversight Committee is do criminal referrals. People say, why didn't you arrest Joe Biden or whatever? That's not how it works. We do investigation, and then we turn over our investigation to the Justice Cabinet. We have a corrupt Justice Cabinet under Merrick Garland. I don't think anyone in America disagrees with that now. So what we did with Jim Biden, the president's brother, we brought him in for a transcribed interview, and he lied, just like Hunter Biden lied in his deposition. Yeah. And it's a felony to lie to Congress. We have criminal referrals on Jim Biden as well as Hunter Biden. So I fully expect Joe Biden to pardon Jim Biden and maybe others. Remember, we found that 10 Biden family members, including Joe Biden, benefited directly from their influence peddling schemes.
If that happens, is that an admission of guilt that the Bidens were all in on this?
Absolutely. And I think what he's done with Hunter is already an admission of guilt. And Joe Biden knew it. He knew it from day one. He lied about the laptop in the debate with Trump, and he lied when he said he wasn't going to pardon Hunter Biden, and everything he said in between those two lies were lies as well.
Kentucky Congressman James Comer, chair of the House Oversight Committee on Wake Up America, with Charlotte McBride, who also spoke with Hunter Biden's ex-girlfriend, the mother of his daughter, that he and most of the Biden family, including President Biden, fail to acknowledge.
Joining me now is author of Out of the Shadows, My Life Inside the Wild World of Hunter Biden, London Roberts. London, thank you so much for joining me this morning. As you mentioned in your statement, you're a mother first. I know Navy is your world. Her dad being pardoned holds a different weight for you. Can you tell me a little more of why you're in support of this pardon?
Well, I mean, you know, I understand it's such a controversial topic, and I've never really been into politics and the political world, so I can't speak on what I would do if I was a sitting president or anything like that. But I know what I would do if I was a mother, and I am a mother. And, it's like I said, there's no barrier I wouldn't break for my daughter to get her out of any situation, and I told someone the other day, I think that, Hunter knows where he's gone wrong and the things that he's done, and he deals with that on his own. And I think if any parent had the authority to help their child, they would.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And Hunter says that he's going to use this clemency to devote his life, to rebuild his life, to help people. Can I ask you, what kind of father has he been to Navy?
A pretty absent one. He's not stepped into her life physically. There were Zoom calls happening last year for a short period of time.
Do you hope that he meets your daughter someday soon in person?
For my daughter's sake, a part of me does, just because I know that she yearns for that, and that is something that she wants.
Yeah.
And it's just part of being a parent. You to see their heartbreak and to see them go through hard times and disappointments, always hurts worse for you as a parent watching them go through that. So, I do, for her sake.
Do you believe that he's a changed man? He says he's going to do better moving forward. Do you believe that?
I can only hope so, but I also know that holding resentment towards somebody or being mad at somebody for speaking their truth and then holding it against their daughter and not choosing to not be in her life because of that it says a lot about someone's character too.
Yeah, absolutely. I know something else you said in your statement is that you'd like to see that love towards Navy that the president shows Hunter. Do you have any indication that the president of the United States, has recognized her as his granddaughter? I know we've talked a lot about stockings being hung at the White House of all of their grandchildren. And of course, this year, there are no stockings at all. What do you make of that?
It's tough. I mean, in my book, I talk about when I was sent articles about the stockings being hung and my child being excluded, his child. And that was pretty tough and hard to deal with, because Navy will see all of that someday. So it's just the steady unacknowledgement. And it like you see, it continues.
What do you tell Navy about her father and her grandfather?
That they love her and, that they live far away and they have really busy schedules. And I make any excuses that I can for, that absence. And it's tough because I feel like I shouldn't be the one that has to answer to that.
That's London Roberts, the mother of Hunter Biden's daughter, the woman he didn't pay child support to until a DNA test proved that it was, in fact, his child, and then tried to have the amount of child support reduced while he was making $60,000 to $80,000 a month just from Burisma alone. I honestly do not like to report on people's personal lives, but it doesn't get any lower or scummier than not paying child support and not seeing your child, especially when you have more than the means to do so, as Hunter did or does. And for President Biden to do the same, it is really telling. As part of Hunter's new agreement, not only does he pay child support, but he was also ordered to help set up a college fund, which again is something you would think the president may have done, even if he doesn't want to acknowledge the girl. Simply knowing that she exists, knowing that she's Hunter's daughter, having the resources that he has, set up a college fund for her, right? And let's wrap it up with a segment of last night's Finnerty on Joe Biden.
JFK, who Joe Biden idolizes, put a man on the moon. Joe Biden put a man in the ladies' restroom. Joe Biden claimed yesterday that Jill left Paris to visit family in Italy, and wow, those Jill Biden genes are really something else. Take a look.
But Jill has been dealing with women's equality for women's health research, and she just got back from Abu Dhabi and all through Africa, and ended up. Although she did go spend a little time in Sicily, because just a day or so to meet her great-great-grandmother's parents. She made fun of me going back on the Irish, you know? Pat, but I tell you what, I don't screw around. When she gets her Irish, when she gets her Italian up, I don't mess with her. But anyway, you'll all see her tonight. She's up changing.
Wait, we might have buried the lead there, Joe. According to Joe Biden, Jill Biden went to Italy to meet her great-great-grandmother's parents. Jill Biden is 73 years old, meaning her great-great-grandmother's parents would be, and I'm lowballing this, approximately 180 years old. Now, I don't blame Jill. If I had family that was 180 years old living in Italy, I would visit too. The difference between Trump and Biden right now, people laugh with Donald Trump. People are laughing every day at Joe Biden because Donald Trump is the president right now. Maybe not officially, but when you look at the intangibles, he has already taken over. Take a look at the faces of world leaders when Donald Trump walked into Notre Dame in Paris over the weekend. You see President Zelensky, he's next. The president of Ukraine, there he is. Does he look maybe a little nervous that the gravy train could be coming to an end? That's more proof that the great correction is already happening. And we should note, Kamala Harris was invited to the ceremony Saturday as well, but Kamala is not a real leader. She is a loser who over the last 35 days has shown the world exactly who she really is. My grandmother used to say, she's got a lot of class, but it's all low. All of this, well, our former president, again, president in name only, Joe Biden, continues to give away your money. Take a look.
With a new constitution, a new government that serves all Syrians. And this process will be determined by the Syrian people themselves. And the United States will do whatever we can to support them, including through humanitarian relief to help restore Syria after more than a decade of war and generations of brutality by the Assad family.
Including through humanitarian relief. 4 words spoken by a man that couldn't be more out of touch with you, the American people, if he tried. Right now, this country is $36 trillion in debt. And now Joe wants to send your money to Syria, another country that Americans can't find on a map, and another country that is not of any real importance to the American people. Syria, by the way, a country that right now is being run by Islamic terrorists. ISIS runs Syria. Who cares what happens in Syria? And I ask that because I don't think anybody does. And I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just trying to move our critics beyond our reputation of Second World War American isolationism to where we really are today, and that is simply America first, because those are two very different things. Donald Trump on Truth Social over the weekend, posting the United States should not have anything to do with Syria. This is not our fight. Let it play out. Do not get involved. But here is Joe Biden with an update on how Americans can help the people of Syria rebuild.
It's a moment of historic opportunity for the long-suffering people of Syria to build a better future for their proud country. It's also a moment of risk and uncertainty. As we all turn to the question of what comes next, the United States will work with our partners and the stakeholders in Syria to help them seize an opportunity to manage the risks.
Joe, it's a moment for them to figure it out. It's a moment of historic opportunity to help the long-suffering people of Syria rebuild. That's what Joe said. Joe, when was the last time the United States successfully rebuilt anything in any other country?
That's Rob Finnerty, host of Finnerty, 8 o'clock Eastern, and he went on to talk about Afghanistan, Iraq, and Ukraine.
So I'll ask again. Why doesn't your administration care about what's going on here in the United States? Take a look at the situation in North Carolina right now.
They're all our neighbors, so when they come down and we cook, it's like a barbecue. We're over at our friend's house. Kind of messed up, but we're still at our friend's house. So
all of the things that kind of make up your life around you are just gone. And, you know, you go to bed one night and then you get up the next morning and you don't have somewhere necessarily to put your head that next night, you know, and you're trying to figure out how am I going to rebuild? How am I going to restart? You know, I'm a nurse myself and even trying, how am I going to get to work? I don't have a car anymore.
That's Western North Carolina 2 months after a hurricane that hit North Carolina, which is a state here, Joe, in the United States of America. But Joe Biden doesn't care about that. The man who defines America last, you'll see Joe Biden's picture. If you look it up, America last, Joe Biden continues to send billions of dollars to countries that you have to cross an ocean to get to. In just the last 7 days, $1 billion to Angola in Africa, Over the weekend, we heard about that humanitarian aid package for Syria, and we just found out that Joe is sending another $988 million to Ukraine. Another $1 billion to Ukraine. Is anybody sick of this yet?
Again, that's Rob Finnerty, host of Finnerty on Newsmax. On Wall Street, stocks opened well into the green for the first time this week. This after the Consumer Price Index, you'll be hearing a lot of talk about it today, showed a 12-month inflation rate of 2.7% after increasing 0.3% on the month, which means inflation is still rising. It was all in line with expectations, though. It gives more hope that the Feds will follow through with another rate cut before the end of the year. So it's like another bad news, good news situation, which happens a lot on Wall Street. On the business page, a federal judge in Oregon blocked Kroger's proposed $25 billion tie-up of Albertsons, ruling that the largest merger in U.S. supermarket history would limit competition and harm consumers. Millions and millions and millions of people shop at Kroger and Albertsons and the other brands that they have, like Safeway, Vons, Harris Teeter, and Fred Meyer. The merger announced in 2022 looks to combine the 5th and 10th largest retailers in the country, which include all the stores that I mentioned. The parent companies, Kroger and Albertsons, said they want to merge to better fight off Walmart and Amazon. Be sure to keep up with all of the news and breaking developments throughout the day right here on Newsmax N2, that's Newsmax 2, and Newsmax.com, beginning each and every day with Wake Up America, and then shows throughout the day like Frontline with Carl Higbie, Newsline with Bianca De La Garza, Greta Van Susteren, Rob Schmitt, Finnerty, Greg Kelly Reports, The Right Squad, and much more. This is the Newsmax Daily. I'm Tony Marino. Thank you so much for stopping by and checking it out. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, and keep on fighting the good fight.
News breaks every minute, every day. You need the app, the Newsmax app. Find it free on your smartphone store. Then watch us anytime, anywhere.
Relentlessly slowing the spread of the stupid every day. It's the Rob Carson Show.
Hey, it's Rob Carson. My podcast is about leading-edge commentary and opinion, great guests, and the biggest political comedy in the country. My satire was featured on the Rush Limbaugh program for over a decade, and now it's fresh and new and on my podcast. It's not just another desk-pounding conservative tirade. It's about entertaining, informing, and motivating. Patriotism and hope. You don't need more stress in your life. You need to feel good and, dare I say, even laugh. Subscribe and download at your favorite podcast platform or go to Newsmax.com/listen.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is